Hi everyone, Sarah here from sarahpacaro.com. Today, I want to dive into the topic of the somatic experience of trauma. And when I first heard this word somatic, it went, phew. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. What is somatic? So, somatic defined is relating to the body, especially distinct especially as distinct from the mind. So, relating to the body or having a somatic experience, where in your body is this experience of trauma kept, held, stuck, trapped, being expressed? So, today we're going to go through the eight most common places in the body where we experience trauma as our somatic experience, of where we experience trauma and we may not make the connection. Oh, that's got something to do with trauma. And I define trauma as trapped information. It's all information. It's all opportunity to open, to grow, to expand, to learn, to explore. But it gets trapped. It gets locked, it gets stuck. And that locked stuckness gets expressed in our body in physical ways. We're not just a physical body. We're spiritual beings within this physical body. And so our body is so divinely and innately intelligent. And when we're ignoring things emotionally, mentally, spiritually, energetically, when we're trying to ignore them, because that's a coping mechanism, is ignoring, is defending, is pretending. No, I don't have time for that. Making excuses. Our body will give us something that we can't ignore. It will trap the trauma and it will express it in a way we can't ignore, we can't shake, we can't let go of. So trauma, which is really just trapped information, it gets expressed and experienced in our somatic experience and our physical experience as distinct from the mind. So we're going to start from the top and then we're going to go down and we're going to talk about the most common places and ways that trauma becomes our somatic experience. And there's so much beauty and freedom and joy and peace on the other side. Uh, when you're through the tunnel, often we feel like we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we feel like we're either afraid to go into the tunnel because what's going to be there? How am I going to get through it? How long is it going to take? Right? We look for shortcuts and we look for ways to get to the light. The fastest way is through. The easiest way is through. But for so many people, that often feels the scariest way. But when you're through, you get to experience all the things that you desire to experience: joy, abundance, connection with yourself, safety, trust, really feeling guided by that intuition and inner voice, and release yourself from the pain that you've experienced from not listening to it when it's tried to guide you in the right direction in the past. So it's really such a beautiful, freeing experience where you really truly love living life. Life gets to be something that you get excited about every day, that you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm just so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this day. And thank you for the experiences that I get to have. Thank you for the people that I get to love, including myself. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to really truly feel and to feel safe with my feelings. So we're going to talk about the different areas in the body that trauma is expressed somatically. So the first one, starting at the top, is our eyes, right? If our eyes are the window to our soul and we've got trauma or trapped information that our soul really, really wants us to see so that it can be set free and we can see that it's been set free, we've got to go within. And we experience this trauma somatically, not so much in the front of our eyes, but in the back of our eyes. And a lot of times this equates to experiencing tension headaches because obviously they're very closely connected and related, but we experience this in the back of our eyes. And this experience of trauma expressed somatically is experienced in the back of our eyes. We feel it as a heaviness, even if we've got whatever full night's sleep is for us, whether it's 6 hours or 7 or 8, or some people 10, because our body is processing a lot more. we feel this heaviness and we experience this sadness, and oftentimes the sadness is connected with tears. But depending on what our experiences are and what's connected to shame and guilt and punishment from our past, we'll either reserve ourselves from expressing the tears and allowing ourselves to cry. I get a lot of people that say, well, what about when you can't cry? That's a withholding. So there's a withholding release. There's a release in the experience of crying. Or what if I can't stop crying? That's almost this need or this desire. And if it just keeps coming, and this need for control, that you've got to stop it because there's something bad with it coming. So you feel it as heaviness, as tension in the back of your eyes. And that's often connected with tears, with expression, with feelings, with emotions of sadness. The next one will, as we move down, is our jaw. A lot of people I've worked with have said that they've had TMJ, they've got to wear special night guards to sleep because their jaw is where they hold tension, where they hold anger, and it's connected to traumatic experiences that have to do with anger and with tension. When we experience anger, especially when it's unprocessed, it gets trapped in our jaw, and we clench and we cringe and we hold on to it, and we have to do it. We can see it with people. You don't even need to know what they're talking about, but you can see their expression and their jaw and the way that their jaw is like the way that their jaw is held. You can see it and you can experience it. You can feel it within yourself as well. If you've got a lot of tension in your jaws, that is connection to anger. That desires to be released, because when that is released, you feel relaxed. You feel safe to express, and you feel safe to communicate in a way that anger doesn't need to be involved to get your point across. We all want to feel heard. We want to feel understood. We want to feel that others are listening, because then it feels like, okay, you care about me, and we feel connected. And often when you've gone through very painful, traumatic experiences from the past, you feel the only way to get your point across or to feel heard was to be louder than the one who was loud, right? And when you don't, if your base trauma response is to retreat and to hide, that tension in your jaw, the anger that you experience, retreats and hides in your jaw, but it still is expressed, and it's a lot of times expressed as locked jaw, or just a lot of tension, teeth grinding at night, because at night is when you're sleeping and your body is processing things. And I used to have to wear a dental grade night guard, and I would chew through them within a year of getting them, and they're not cheap either. I haven't had to wear a night guard for years now, and it's so beautiful to be able to wake up and not feel tension in my jaw, not have it click anymore, through the process of healing and really releasing yourself from the anger from traumatic past experiences. The next one is the throat. And if you're into yoga, right, there is an energy center there, or a chakra in the throat. And naturally, this is connected with needing to speak and needing to be heard. A lot of people that I work with who actually have health issues and cough issues, throat issues, it's very closely connected to the thyroid. I have a beautiful testimonial on my website from a gorgeous client who she called it being thyroidy. She would constantly and it would feel like her voice was stuck. It would feel like it couldn't come out. And she was constantly clearing her throat. She was always coughing and didn't understand why. She'd go to the doctors and they found no logical reason for it, and just told her, just maybe allergies, take some allergy medicine. Hopefully that helps. And so you end up going to people who are just trying to experiment with your body, and instead of really getting to the core and root of what's going on internally and unconsciously. But trauma gets trapped in your throat, and it's trying to come out. It's trying to come out through a cough. It's trying to come out through a tickle or a clearing. It's trying to get your attention and say, hey, there's energy trapped here. There's information trapped here that is trying to come out, that's trying to be expressed, to be released. So that is another area within the body that trauma gets trapped. And then moving down, shoulders. Shoulders is a big, big, big area. And this is why so many people, I'm not saying massages are not wonderful, they absolutely are, but why so many people will go get massage work done and the masseuse will be able to feel physically and energetically often all of the tension that has been built up and trapped in the tissues. Many massage therapists say the issues are in the tissues because the body can't lie. The body literally, energetically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, it keeps the score of what's going on and what is yet to be processed. So shoulders are often related to helplessness, burden, carrying the weight of past burdens on your shoulders, hopelessness, feeling hopeless, feeling hunched over, hopeless, like in defeat. Your body physically carries this posture of defeat and hopelessness and the burdens, the weight of burdens from the past. Even though it's in the past, it's still there with you in the present. So when you're feeling that tension in your shoulders, you feel like your ears are up into your shoulders are up into your ears. And it can feel like, okay, I'm going to be conscious of this. I'm going to have better posture. But unconsciously, before you know it, you realize, oh my gosh, I'm hunched over again like this. There's something about confidence and seeing and noticing people who are expansive and open that's linked to doing the inner emotional work and the unconscious work to free yourself from carrying the weight of the burdens of the trauma from the past and no longer feeling hopelessness, feeling hopeful instead of hopeless. But you'll notice that that gets trapped in your shoulders and it even physically changes postures. And notice, ah, someone who can crack their own back just by going like this, that's the body saying, hey, it is time for you to release the things that you've been carrying from the past. And then the chest, another energy center chakra there. This is often connected with grief and unmet needs. And especially with my one-to-one work with clients, this is where people say, I feel it here and they'll experience and feel it in different ways. It feels like a heaviness. It feels like a dark cloud. I feel it in my chest. I feel it around my heart. It feels locked and it feels trapped. That's often linked to grief and unmet needs. I talk a lot about childhood emotional neglect or CEN and its link and connection to emotionally unavailable and abusive relationships, narcissistic relationships, and so many people feel this heaviness in their chest. And generally after the first session or even during the session itself, they say, I feel lighter. I feel more free and I feel that freedom in my chest. Like it's okay. It's safe for me to open it. And obviously that links to the shoulders dropping down and back and just really feeling safe to open yourself up to opportunity, to possibilities, to the beauty, to the joy, to the abundance that life has and is ready to deliver you, ready to allow you to receive. But this is not a receiving posture. And that's because I don't want to receive any more grief. I don't want to receive any more pain from my needs continuing to go being unmet. So we experience that in our chest area. Often it's experienced as a tightness, as a tension, as a constricting. And that's where the heart is. The heart is one of the most beautiful energy centers. Its frequency, its energy, its vibration, its output, its field is far greater than that of the mind. So it's all connected, it's all related, and it all is giving you information and indication on what's going on. And my hope in sharing this video and where these experiences are in our body physically helps you to begin to make that connection if you haven't already. And next is moving a little bit lower into the breath, into the diaphragm area. And that is connected to the trauma responses, to fear and to fright, to being afraid, and helplessness and threat. And there's another one that's linked to threat as well, but we're going to get to that in a second. But the breath and the diaphragm is often connected to fear and fright. You'll notice when you're afraid, you're not taking deep, long, cleansing, clearing breaths. Your breath is short, your breath is shallow, your breath is rapid, and it feels like you're going to die, right? And oftentimes when you know logically you're not going to die, but you'll feel like I can't take a full Deep, cleansing, clearing, relaxing breath. And it feels helpless because you're trying to, you desire to, you want to, you deserve to, but you feel blocked. You feel like you can't. And it feels like there's a threat. And even though the left logical side of your brain may say, there's no threat. What is wrong with you? Just take a breath. Just breathe. And you're like, I can't. I wish I could, but I feel like I can't. So the breath and the diaphragm is connected to those things: threat, helplessness, fear, and fright. You're afraid. And oftentimes this goes into the projection of fear of something that more than likely won't happen. We're projecting or we're dwelling into future thoughts, and those are causing fear physically in our body. We're locking onto perceived future threats and saying, I know this is going to happen. And then we go down this hole. I know this is going to happen. And when it happens, this is going to happen. And then what's going to happen? And then we're left feeling helpless. And then we're left talking really fast about it. And then we're like, and that's often why people will say, just breathe. And you're like, I can't. That's what's going on. Because it's linked to past stories, it's linked to unconscious beliefs that you have that are causing this physical experience and sensation within your breath. The next one is the stomach. This is a huge one. The stomach, the gut, that is most often connected with anxiety. Anxiety is a worry that has spiraled out of control, is spiraling down. That's anxiety. It's worry. Again, projected future thoughts, pictures that our mind is creating of what's going to happen and what's going to happen to us. And we're not feeling safe, not feeling protected by these worries. And we experience them in our gut. Our stomach feels like it's in knots. We feel like we're going to throw up, and we feel that sensation come up from our stomach and go through all of those other centers when we experience that. So trauma as a somatic experience in your stomach is often linked to anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and it's seen in so many different settings. Social anxiety, it's seen as anxiety even thinking about going to a grocery store if there's people there. I've had past clients who used to only go to the grocery store late at night, just before it would close, to get the essentials because they were so terrified of being out in public around other people and so worried about things that were going to happen. And when we got into how often they were going to happen, it actually had nothing to do with that. That was the worry being expressed somatically in the body. But it had to do with things in the past. And more than that, with unconscious beliefs they developed about themselves because of those past experiences. And so when we reconnected after our sessions, they've said, I can eat now. I don't feel like I'm going to throw up all the time. It's incredible. It's amazing. This feels so good. I can notice anxiety, but I can notice if it's about something that's relevant and pertains to what I'm actually experiencing, or if it's something that my mind is just going, are you sure that you haven't just created this future story and experiencing the anxiety from that? And that's gone. Like that's not even interesting. That's not relevant to me anymore. That's just not anything I do anymore. I used to, but that's no longer me. It's so amazing. And so that is stomach. Stomach is the gut, anxiety, it's worries, and it's worries that have just spiraled out of control. I've heard it said as well that worry is meditation in the wrong direction. We're always meditating, sitting with, dwelling, focusing on. They're all synonyms. And that's what anxiety is meditation in the wrong direction, right? They say meditation should have you, namaste, kumbaya, feels so good. And it can and it does, but it depends on the direction that it's going in. If it's going in the direction of worry, and then more worry, and then more worry, and then anxiety about the worry, and then worry about the anxiety, that's the wrong direction. And life is an indication of the directions that you've gone, the quality of life. So if you're not going in that direction that you desire, there's something there, and your body, especially when you're experiencing anxiety and your stomach and knots, is telling you, hello, there's information there. You got to get to it. And getting to the unconscious beliefs that you have will be the fastest way to set you free from it. Next is the hands. Jazz hands. I love hands. Hands are tools. I've had incredible, powerful sessions with breakthrough sessions with clients who realize the power of their hands. But if you ever notice, I want you to just try on this exercise because everything is frequency and energy. Someone who has a very calm, confident, just presence about them. They'll use their hands to accentuate, and I don't do this on purpose, it just kind of happens, but you'll notice someone who's in a state, and you don't have to know their name, you don't have to know anything about them. Just watch their physical body and how it expresses. Are their legs moving, bouncing, shaking, their foot moving, bouncing, shaking? Are their hands, are they just uneasy with their hands? Are they I don't know what to do with my hands. Like when you're taking a picture, what do I do with my hands? They often feel like awkward. So you'll notice if your hands are shaking or tense, that's often connected to the fight flight response. I've had clients who've come to me personally to work one to one because they knew that there was stuff from their past, stuff from their relationship, their childhood that they hadn't yet processed. And their main and biggest concern was their weight gain because they needed to be busy. They needed something for their hands to do. So they would reach for snacking, they would reach for cigarettes, they would reach for things that they didn't even feel a sensation of hunger within their body or didn't want to smoke, but they needed something to do with their hands. That is a connection to a fight flight response. Think about it. If you're going to fight, you're going to use your hands, right? Metaphorically speaking. You could use other body parts as well. But those are the things that clench. Just like the jaw clenches, we clench our hands. If you experience an argument with someone, you may not even be saying anything, but your body is preparing. It's retreating, giving space to protect itself. And the hands, even if you're not going to punch them, you may notice your hands are just tense. Even if they're down by your side, they're tensed, they're locked, they're loaded, right? Notice the language, or they tremble in fear. They just start shaking. Your hands just start shaking. If you've ever even thought about what someone's going to say, they're going to be mad at you, and you're going to feel this disappointment. Your hands start shaking, your throat starts shaking, your jaw might start shaking because of this anticipation of how this is going to go and the fear. When you just want to run away, you run, right? You're going to use your hands to really pump them to get away even faster. So those are different common places in the body that trauma is experienced somatically. And so many of these are things that we can overlook easily and just think, oh no, just it's just like I remember saying this because I have a family of night wearers or night guard wearers. So many people in my family wear night guard, and I'm like, I don't anymore. I don't have to anymore. It doesn't have to be the way that you live, but what you believe internally and unconsciously sets a foundation for experiences in your life and the experiences that you have physically. So my goal, my hope in sharing this video with you about trauma as in our somatic experience is that you make a connection. You have an awareness of something maybe that you are experiencing that you desire to be free from experiencing. And the fastest, most powerful way to release and free yourself from that is to untrap that information. And we can only do so much consciously. But when we get to what's happening internally and unconsciously, it's like the door is open. Go free. It no longer needs to be a part of the story that you're telling yourself because you've set it free. And so you no longer will experience all of those things. And when you do experience things like, anxiety in the stomach, because anxiety is not a bad emotion, sensation, or experience or feeling, it will be something that guides you in an intuitive way, in a safe way, in a trusting way. It will no longer be something that you ignore, disregard, or feel like you can't trust, or just feel like, I can't even differentiate. I'm always this way. It will no longer be something that you always are. It'll be something that's there to do what it's there to do, protect you, guide you, and keep you safe. So that is all for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you are looking to work privately, there's information on my website. If you're more interested in group or programs, then I've got those as well. Sending you so much love. And I trust in my heart, my gut, my soul. You get me free from this. But just sitting around watching videos will only do so much. It really takes deeply connecting with what's going on internally and unconsciously, and pairing that with conscious effort as well. All right, guys, sending you love. You can find out more information in the link in the description below this video. Bye for now.